The NFL draft is only 2 days away, so today I'm coming at you with a mock draft with trades. I'm excited to get into this one. Might get a little goofy, might have some teams moving around that you might not think, might have some guys falling or getting taken a little bit higher than a lot of people think. Just gonna have some fun with this one, and then I'm gonna come back tomorrow with my final mock draft, the day before the draft, and then I will have some videos coming out during and after the draft. So be on the lookout for those. But yeah, for today, let's just get right into it. All right, so kicking it off, it is Tennessee, of course, and I'm not gonna spend too long on this one. It's Cam Ward. That's just what they're gonna do. I think Adam Schefter tweeted out today that they've already informed him that they're taking him first overall. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean much. That could be false or, could be smoke screens, but I think I'm pretty confident to say that Cam Ward will be the #1 overall pick in the draft. Do I think he's a top 5 talent in the class? Probably not, but I think he is a good player, and I think that's what the Titans will do at 1. They need a quarterback. There's a quarterback there at 1. That's what they're going to do. Moving on to the Browns, another one I'm not going to take too much time on. It's Travis Hunter. Same things are kind of being said in Cleveland. There was another Schefter tweet today that was saying that, the Giants and the Browns are fielding offers for their picks. This kind of always happens closer to the draft when you come a couple days out. Teams start saying that their pick's available, and I'm sure if the offer is insane, they would take it, but the Browns are just going to stick and pick here and take probably the most talented player in the class. They view him as a receiver. I think that's kind of where the NFL is right now. I think he's probably a better corner than he is a receiver, but you want to get more value out of a player on the offensive side of the ball than on the defensive side of the ball. The Browns think they could do that with Travis Hunter at receiver, which obviously they can. He's an unbelievable talent, and I'm excited to hopefully have him in Cleveland, either him or Abdul Carter. I'd be so stoked with. But yeah, Travis Hunter at 2. I like the pick for the Browns. All right, getting into New York, another one I'm not going to spend too much time on. I'm just kind of flying through these first couple because I think they're pretty chalk. It's Abdul Carter. I think if Carter's there at 3, they just can't pass it up. Kayvon Thibodeaux is a good player, I think. He just kind of hasn't met expectations completely in the NFL. And I think if you put Abdul Carter on the other side of Brian Burns, I think he could look really scary for the New York Giants defensive pass rush for a long time. And then maybe they can move on from Thibodeaux, maybe get some draft stock for him for the future. And I just think Abdul Carter is kind of a can't miss. I know he's got like some sort of foot problem or something that he might need surgery on in the future, but I think he's good to go right now. And I don't see how you don't take him here if he's available at 3. Patriots at 4. This is where I'm gonna have my first trade of the video. The Patriots are just a team that I feel like always likes to trade down, even if they're picking high. Obviously, they didn't do it with Drake May last year, but they're just a trade down team. They never like taking guys, so I feel like it could be a big trade down spot at number 4 overall for a team really wanting to draft one of the most talented players in the class. I'm gonna have the Bears trade up here, and I'm not gonna worry about what the logistics of the trade would be. It'd probably be like, their first rounder next year, and then maybe, a mid-round pick this year for maybe a later pick, and then maybe another pick last year. Like, I don't know exactly what it would be. Maybe there's a player involved. Maybe DeAndre Swift gets sent in this deal to the Patriots, but we're gonna have the Bears trade up, and they're gonna trade for their running back of the future, Ashton Jeanty. He's probably top 3 player in the class. It's really these 3 guys right here: Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Ashton Jeanty. They're really the 3 like blue chip, can't miss prospects in the class. And I think the Bears would love to bring in a guy like Jeanty, help that offense out, help Caleb Williams have a run game going. They brought in some offensive line help, specifically guards. And I think that that's what they're going to want to do. They're going to want to run the ball this year. They're going to make Caleb feel a lot more comfortable in that offense, especially with the new offensive-minded coach there. I think they're going to want to run the ball a lot, and why not Ashton Jeanty in Chicago? I think it's a great fit, and I think they would be dying to trade up to get him. It's just they've got to find the right suitor, especially because I think Jacksonville is in play for Jeanty at 5, and I definitely think the Raiders are in play for Jeanty at 6, so they probably have to jump up to 4, maybe 5 if Jacksonville isn't looking the Jeanty route, but definitely as high as 4 or 5 they would have to trade up, because I don't think he makes it past the Raiders at 6. So today I have him going at 4. Next up is the Jacksonville Jaguars, and for me I think it's Tetairoa McMillan. He's a big body guy. He's tall, he's strong, you can kind of move him around, and I think that it would be a sick target for Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Liam Cohen, offensive minded guy. He had obviously Mike Evans for a few years there, calling that offense, getting the ball to him. And I'm not saying Tetairoa is Mike Evans, but it's a similar build type, like big body, go up and get it receiver. And I think it would work really well in Jacksonville. Finally get Trevor, a guy who can really go up and get it. And then you throw him on the other side of Brian Thomas, who's just going to absolutely burn everybody. I think it's a really good pairing. So we're going to go to the Raiders at 6. I think the Raiders could do a couple of things here. Obviously, Gentsy's not there, and that's who I had them taking in my last mock draft. I think that's probably who they would want the most here. And then Teterow is not there either. I think they could look receiver as well. I just don't think Matthew Golden goes this high. I think he's probably the next receiver off the board, and I just don't see him going this high. So I think they could do a couple of things. I think Mason Graham is definitely in play. I think he's also in play for the Jaguars. I didn't say that, but I think Mason Graham is definitely in play. I think Walter Nolan could be in play. I think, you know, a lot of the, I think Jahdae Barron could be in play, but I think they're going to take offensive line. You know, you can never have too many offensive linemen. They're kind of moving their offensive line around. I know they're moving JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson. I think they're moving him back to center where he played at Oregon. And so they're going to need a guard at some point. And why not Will Campbell, the best offensive line prospect in the class, in my opinion? He's just probably not a tackle, but he's going to plug and play a guard day one in the NFL. He's just not a tackle, but I think it's fine to take a guard this high. I saw it happen with Quentin Nelson with the Colts, I don't know how many years ago, but man, he's an all-pro player every year, year in, year out. And so I think Will Campbell could be that kind of guy if he's playing the right role. If they try to stick him at tackle, I don't think Will Campbell will be a very good NFL player. But I think if he can kick inside the guard and get really comfortable with the position, he could be an all-pro guard in the future. So you can never have too many offensive linemen. They get hurt all the time. It's probably the most valuable position on the field other than quarterback, and you just can't go wrong taking one in the top 10 of the draft. So I like Will Campbell there at 6. The Jets are on the clock at 7, and I think they could also do a couple of things. Mason Graham is kind of just staring at them, but man, Tyler Warren's just too good to pass up here. I think he would work so well in that offense. He's just a dynamic playmaker, and he's kind of like a Jeremy Shockey type tight end. Obviously not Jeremy Shockey, but that's kind of the role he would play. Next up is the Carolina Panthers, and I think the Panthers are probably pretty upset that T-Mac is off the board. I think they would love to have T-Mac here at 8, but I think if he's not there, I think it's definitely just edge. There are a couple that they could be looking at here. Obviously Mike Green, I think James Pierce, Shamar Stewart, Michael Williams. I think all of those guys would be in play, but I think they would go with the most raw of all those players in Jalen Walker. Now, he's probably the most talented out of all of them. He's just new to the position, but that's how NFL teams draft. You can't teach speed, arm length, all of these things. What you can't teach is stuff like finesse and footwork, where your hands need to be. That's all the stuff you can't teach. A lot of NFL higher-ups like to go after guys who have all the intangibles already, and then you kind of just teach him how to play the position. You saw it happen with Trayvon Walker at number 1 overall, was taking over a guy like Aiden Hutchinson because his arms were longer. And that's what Jacksonville liked. They liked a guy with longer arms who they can maybe develop into being one of the top pass rushers in the league. Now, obviously, he's not a better player than Aiden Hutchinson at this point, but he's still a good player. And a lot of NFL teams like to do that. They like to take guys who they know are fast, long arms, stuff that the position needs to have, and then they can kind of teach them as they grow into the NFL. All right, next up, we have the Saints now. Shedeur is on the board. He's still there at 9, but I don't have him drafting Shedeur here at 9. I definitely think that Shedeur can drop. There's a lot of talk that Shedeur might not even make it into the first round, and I think it makes sense. I personally like him more as a prospect than Cam Ward, and you might be thinking, well, if you like him more, how come Cam Ward is going at 1 and you're saying Shedeur might not even be a first rounder? How is that possible? It's just how the NFL works, man. And you know, Cam Ward has such a higher ceiling than Shedeur, but a lower floor. But the NFL likes those high ceiling guys. They want to find the guys who can be, you know, MVP candidates in the future, and Cam Ward has that potential. I don't think he will be, but he has that potential to be a dynamic player in the NFL, where I think Shedeur's kind of ceiling is a solid quarterback, you know, that you can compete with, like a Jared Goff. I'm not comparing his game to Jared Goff, but I'm saying it's a solid quarterback that you can compete with, you know, you can make runs with. And I think his floor is a serviceable quarterback that, you know, could be a bridge or, you know, kind of keep you in the loop, you know, but I don't know if he's ever going to be an unbelievable all-pro type player year in and year out. So for all those reasons, I'm going to have them pass up on Shedeur Sanders and take Mason Graham, who's the best player available right now. Brian Brzee kind of hasn't panned out completely. They kind of thought they had a steal there, but Mason Graham gonna end up in New Orleans, and I think it's a pretty good fit for them. So we're gonna go down now to the Patriots, who traded out of 4 for the Bears to get up and go get Ashton Jeanty, and so now they're kind of sitting at 10, and I really think they'd be happy in this spot because Armand Membou is still there, who is a guy I definitely think they might take at 4, if not Will Campbell, but obviously Will Campbell's not on the board here. So they're gonna take Membou there at 4. He's probably gonna play right tackle, maybe even kicks inside the guard, but probably right tackle. And I think they're stoked there that they maybe got some value in return, trading back 6 spots and still getting a tackle of the future. Now, say Membou's not there, I still think they would probably go tackle with a guy like Kelvin Banks or Josh Simmons. Josh Simmons is just a little bit scary because he's coming off a pretty bad knee injury, whereas Kelvin Banks might be able to stick out on the left side. Left tackle, he played left tackle at Texas all 3 years, never took a snap anywhere else, and so he might stay out there. He's just kind of not big enough to play it in the NFL, but who knows, maybe he can stick out there. If not, he'll kick inside the guard, and I think he'll be a good guard. So I wouldn't hate the fit for New Orleans, or I wouldn't hate the fit for New England anyways. But yeah, right here I've got them taking Membou because he's still on the board. Next up, we have the 49ers. I think the 49ers could do a couple of things here. I think that an obvious thing is Walter Nolan. He's still on the board. I like that fit a lot. They kind of just need to find guys that they can plug and play anywhere. Josh Simmons, Kelvin Banks are also in play here, but for me, it's going to be Jahdae Barron. Jahdae Barron, his size is a little bit concerning, but his speed is not. He's 5'11", 200. Like, that makes you think maybe he can't stick out on the outside and we'll have to kick to the slot. I think he'll be fine in the NFL. He's just a little bit short, so he might run into problems there. But I think San Francisco is just a perfect landing spot for Jahdae Barron. It's kind of like he's built for that place, and I think he'll just fit into that culture right away. And he's just a leader, you know, locker room guy, very, very smart. He's very instinctual on the field. And I just really like Jahdae Barron's fit in San Francisco. And that's just why I love this pick here at 11 for them. All right, next up, we have the Cowboys at 12. And I think it's really one of 2 guys here at 12 if they're both still available, which I think they will be. And also, I think this could be a trade down spot. Like, surprisingly, I think the Cowboys could trade down here. I don't know if that will happen, but I think it definitely could. But yeah, I mean, Omarion Hampton is one of the guys I'm thinking, and Matthew Golden is the other. Keep Matthew Golden in Texas. He went from Houston to Austin to now Arlington if the Cowboys decide to take him here. But for me, it's going to be Omarion Hampton today. Cowboys just need running back so bad, and he's such a talented player, and I think he would fit into Dallas's game plan right away, and I just like the fit a lot there in Dallas. So going now to the Miami Dolphins. He's a very, very talented player. Struggled at Texas A&M as being the top prospect in his recruiting class. He was up there alongside Travis Hunter. It was those 2 guys were the 2 guys of the class, depending on what website you were looking on that was ranking them. But those were the 2 guys. And there's just so much upside for Walter Nolan. He broke out this year at Ole Miss, and I really think that he could keep propelling his game into the NFL and really start getting after the quarterback more and more and more. And that's kind of your Christian Wilkins replacement in Miami after he went to Las Vegas last year. But yeah, Walter Nolan at 13 to the Dolphins is a fit I do really like. At 14 now, we have the Colts, and this is going to be my second trade down of the video. I just think that there are guys here that the Colts could definitely want, but I just think the Colts guy is Tyler Warren. And if he's not there at 14, I could definitely see them liking a couple more guys on their board. I could see them being into Mike Green, Jahad Campbell, maybe even Will Johnson, Malachi Starks. I could see them even liking, you know, maybe they like a different safety down the board, and that is Nick Emanwari. And maybe they can, you know, look, maybe he could be there down the line. And so I just think it's, you know, a good spot for maybe the Colts to trade down. And I'm going to have them trading down with the Denver Broncos, who are going to trade up for the receiver. Maybe, you know, they think that the Falcons could really be wanting receiver here instead of edge, like I think consensus thinks that they're going, but maybe they're really worried that the Falcons are going to take their guy, being Matthew Golden here. And yeah, the Broncos just really need help on the offensive side of the ball. Bo Nix obviously had a great rookie year, and they just kind of need to put some pieces around him. Courtland Sutton is a good player, but he's getting up there in age, and I just think he needs more help on the outside, and Matthew Golden is exactly what that would do for him. So I just really like that fit in Denver. They got to trade up and get him. I don't know what the trade would look like, but I like Denver kind of trading up here with Indianapolis. Maybe Indianapolis's guy is off the board, and if they can get a guy later, Denver wants to go up and get their guy before maybe the Falcons take him at 15. All right, so the Falcons are now up at 15, and I think it's got to be edge. I think especially if a receiver is taken before them, you know, they could be looking Luther Burden, Mecca Ibuka, like these are possible options, but I think it's edge, and today I'm going to go Mykel Williams. A lot of people think Mykel Williams could slip into the top 10. I think that's a little crazy, but he's got the talent to be a top 10 kind of player. He kind of played hurt all year, and it was just kind of some ups and downs for Mykel Williams all year, but he's got the talent to be a top 10 player in this class for sure. And so the Falcons are going to keep him in state there and snag him at 15. Next, the Arizona Cardinals at 16. I think they could do a couple of things here. I'm kind of having Will Johnson fall a little bit because there just are some concerns about this injury and how fast he is. You know, there's just some really big concerns about Will Johnson that I could see him falling. Overall, he's a fantastic player and could end up being a top 5 player from this draft class. I mean, he really could just end up being a really stud boundary corner in the NFL. There's just some really glaring concerns like the speed and the injury history that could scare some teams off. I mean, some teams might just take him off the board. That's what happens with a lot of these guys. You know, Josh Simmons, he's got some bad injury history, like could just be taken off the board for a lot of teams. However, though, I will have his Michigan teammate fall off the board here in Kenneth Grant. I don't think I had Kenneth Grant come off the board in my other mock draft I did. But yeah, I mean, he's huge, man. He's really big. He's going to swallow a lot of run plays in the middle. 6'3", 340. You know, for how big he is, he's pretty freaking athletic. Like, he can move. And I think that's what's so impressive with Kenneth Grant. And he can play 3 downs, you know, like you see a guy that big and you think maybe he's not going to be a 3-down lineman, but I think that's what's so appealing about Kenneth Grant is he's very athletic, that he probably will play 3 downs in the NFL, which is very, very valuable for a guy of his size. So I think, yeah, like the Cardinals have to go trenches, maybe offensive side, defensive side with this pick at 16. I think they see Kenneth Grant, his size, his power, his ability to stop the run, and they pull the trigger on him at 16 there. Moving on to the Cincinnati Bengals, and Malachi Starks is still on the board. I think you just lock it in. He's the best defensive player on the board. And you need defense more than probably any team in the NFL because that's how bad the Cincinnati Bengals defense was last year. They had a playoff team. Like, they were good enough to compete in the playoffs, but only on the offensive side of the ball. Their defense was atrocious last year, so they pick up the best player available on the defensive side of the ball there at 17, and Malachi Starks. I think it would just make a great fit, great addition to that defense. Obviously, there's still glaring holes that they need to fix in the coming future, but Malachi Starks is a good start to fixing that defense. So now we have the Seattle Seahawks at 18, and we're going to go Shamar Stewart here. The Seahawks have a kind of a history of taking like these mega athletic, super talented, super fast guys and then trying to develop them. Yeah, they just have a history of taking these guys. And he's pretty huge, 6'6", 290. He just has stuff to work on. You know, like he's got to get a little bit more fundamental at the position. But like I said earlier, like they can teach that to him. You can't teach his size, his strength, his speed, but you could teach him how to get around the edge, how to get on the inside, how to use his feet, how to use his hands, and how to pass rush with finesse and power. So I think that would be the pick for the Seahawks here at 18. Next up, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think they could like trade out of this pick, especially with the board. And there's guys I think they could like still on the board. But with Mike Green still there, you know, I have him dropping a little bit. He's got like a little off the field problem that you can kind of look into that I don't know 100% about. But he's super twitchy, super fast. He's my favorite edge in the class that's not named Abdul Carter. And he's just a really talented player. They just really need help kind of in that whole front seven. And I think Mike Green would be a pretty good start to that. I also think they could take Jahad Campbell, who could kind of be like your Devin White replacement and who could also eventually be your Levante David replacement. But we're going to have the Colts actually take Jahad Campbell here at 20. It's kind of just such a Colts pick. Like the Colts always take the most raw, talented dude when that's still on the board when they're up. And Jahad Campbell is exactly that. Like this guy is so incredibly talented. He's so fast. He could come off the edge. He could play coverage. Like I said in my last video, he's always kind of like a little tick behind. But like I think that's something he'll fix in the NFL. And for his size, he's actually just better at coverage than you would think. Like when I say he's a tick behind, like he's not a bad coverage linebacker. I just think he's a little bit bigger, and I think he came into the combine weighing 10 pounds less than he did when he was playing, so that could definitely help too. But yeah, I mean, just sideline to sideline, like such a sick player, probably one of the best players in the class. You just kind of see him fall along with Malachi Starks because the positional value is just not there. And that's kind of why I think Tyler Warren might not go as high as 7, like I have him here, just because he plays tight end. That's why I think he could fall to 14 to the Colts, where I think is just the perfect spot for Tyler Warren and the perfect pick for the Colts. But next up at 21, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I hope you didn't forget that Shedeur Sanders is still available. I think, like I said earlier, he can fall out of the first round, but I think if he's here at 21 and nobody's traded ahead of you and you're the Steelers, think you've got to probably take a chance on Shedeur. I think Jackson Dart is like the other quarterback that's in play here for them. If it's not receiver, then it's probably tackle and Josh Simmons, or maybe they take Gray Zabel and kick him inside at guard. Calvin Banks could play tackle. Gray Zabel's not a tackle. They haven't listed a tackle, but he's a guard. His arms are just way too small. Like the thing that everybody's saying about Will Campbell is his arms are too small. You've heard it like all year. His arms are too small. Gray Zabel like is a way bigger victim of this. His arms are way too small. He cannot play tackle. He played tackle at North Dakota State, but he will play guard in the NFL. North Dakota State and the NFL are very, very different, but he'll be good enough to play guard in the NFL. Just can't stick outside on tackle in the NFL. His arms are just too small. But yeah, anyways, we're gonna go Shedeur here for the Steelers, and it's not something I would love to see as a Browns fan. I don't like hate it because I don't think Shedeur is gonna be that amazing of a player, but the Steelers are kind of a team that always kind of make it work. They always are good enough to make the playoffs. They're always just making the best out of nothing. And I think that's kind of the perfect spot for Shedeur. Like somewhere where you don't have to be the all-star all the time. You know, the team around you, the defense could pick you up and the team around you could pick you up, and you kind of just have to drive the ship. You know what I mean? You got to make good decisions. You got to be accurate when you have to. And I think that's what Shedeur's going to do. So I really do think, unfortunately, Pittsburgh's kind of the perfect landing spot for Shedeur Sanders. I really do like that fit. Next up here, we have the San Diego Chargers. Oh my goodness. Why do I always do that? I do it Oakland. I do it with San Diego. Why do teams always have to move? I've been calling the A's, the Oakland A's all year. I don't know, stupid rant, but whatever. I can't get used to it. Anyways, we have the Chargers here at 22, and Colston Loveland is the pick for me. You got the Michigan connection with Harbaugh as the head coach. I think they stay together here and take Colston Loveland. They need a pass catcher, like desperately. I think they could go Luther Burden or Emeka there, but I think Colston Loveland with that Michigan connection is just like so obvious there at 22 if Colston Loveland's still there. And like the thing about these tight ends is like, the thing about the draft class really is like you might not see much of a gap between players as like the 15th best player in the class between like the 50th best player in the class. Like the gap there is a lot smaller than it usually is. That's just how this draft class kind of is. And so with the tight ends, like, even though it's like not the most valuable position, these guys are probably both top 10, top 15 players in the class. And that's why they're going in the first round. Like, I think ordinarily Colston Loveland might not make it in the first round of a class. And like, obviously, I think people forget about Colston Loveland because last year he just wasn't good because Michigan didn't have a quarterback. But with JJ McCarthy, he was a really good player. And so I think he does find his way into the first round here, and the Chargers just seems like a perfect fit. All right, now we've got the Green Bay Packers, and we're going to go Michigan again, and it's going to be Will Johnson. Kind of like I said, falls here because of the injury concerns and the speed concerns. But I think if he's there at 23, the Packers just need corner so bad. I think, like I said in my previous video, Siobhan Ravel could be the pick, Maxwell Harrison, Trey Amos. I think those are all options, but I think if Will Johnson's there at 23, it's got to be Will Johnson for the Packers. Now the Vikings. Vikings are like the biggest, they're going to trade down team in the draft. And so I'm going to do it here with the Vikings. Now, this might be biased, okay? But I'm going to have the Browns trade back into the first round here. They're picking at 33, the very first pick of the second round. I don't know what this trade would really look like, but we're going to have the Browns move back into the first round and take a guy with character concerns, because that's what the Browns do, okay? Everybody's letting James Pierce fall, even though he's such a talented player and really deserves to go higher in this class, but he's got some off-the-field problems. He's got character concerns, and who's the team in the NFL that doesn't care at all about character or what you do off the field? It's the Cleveland Browns, baby. Give me James Pierce at 24. They trade back in to take a guy who might not be a great person. Oh, well. hell the Browns do it again. But no, really, like James Pierce a lot. I think he'll probably not be too much of a problem off the field in the NFL, but there are definitely concerns there, and why you might see him even fall out of the first round on Thursday. But I like the Browns kind of jumping back here into the first round. You don't take Abdul Carter, who you probably were really tempted to take it to. You take Travis Hunter instead, and then you trade up and you get Myles Garrett, his new sidekick, in James Pierce. I just would love that outcome for the Browns. You end up with the best player in the class and then one of the best edge rushers in the class. It would just be such a sick move for the Browns to make, especially if teams are passing on this guy for character concerns, because this front office has shown, obviously, with the guy I won't even say the name of because he's ruined my life, they showed that they didn't care about his character concerns. They obviously didn't care about what he looked like on the field either. But it's happened time and time and again. Like, the Browns just don't care about what guys are doing off the field, and it's come back to bite them. So they'll probably do it again, and it'll probably come back to bite them again because we're the Browns. Anyways, done with that rant. Texans are up, and I've got two teammates reuniting in Emeka Egbuka and CJ Stroud. I know, another biased pick, whatever, who cares? Go Bucks. But yeah, I think this is actually a pretty good fit. Like, CJ and Emeka obviously paired well together in college football, and I think they could do it again in the NFL. Obviously, they lost Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, probably not going to play this year. I think it's a pretty sick fit, and you're going to go get Nico Collins some help in Emeka, and I just really like that pick there for the Houston Texans. Next up, we're going to go back-to-back Buckeyes. It's actually kind of ironic because you have back-to-back Wolverines at 22 and 23, and then 25, 26, I've got back-to-back Buckeyes. Yeah, the Rams need help at tackle pretty bad, and I think if Colston Loveland is here, that's what they would do instead. They just really do need a tight end, and I think Colston Loveland would be really nice in that offense. Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Matt Stafford, Kyron Williams, and then Colston Loveland. Like, I think that would be pretty sick. But in this scenario, he's not available, and they're just going to protect Matt Stafford and whoever the quarterback is for the future with Josh Simmons. Obviously, I said he's coming off that injury, but I think he's pretty sick player, and I think he would fit super well into that offense, protecting a future, maybe Hall of Fame quarterback, maybe not, probably not Hall of Fame quarterback, but Hall of very good Matt Stafford. Anyways, next up is the Baltimore Ravens, and I think the Ravens are probably pretty happy with the board, how the board fell out. I think they could do a couple of things here. I think they can, maybe, whoops, not that. Although they could go guard, actually. They could go Tyler Bookett here for sure and just commit to running the ball. But I think they could go Kelvin Banks, move him to guard, Gray Zabel, play him at guard. I also think that they could go edge or corner here. I'm going to have them taking Donovan Ezeraku, super twitchy, super sick player. I think throwing him on that defensive line, which is already very good, and that defense is already very good. The Ravens just get better, and the Ravens always seem to find a guy late in the first round after they made a nice playoff run, and they always just get a stud. It's the same thing as the Eagles. They always draft well. It's so frustrating, and I think that would be a good start to the draft in Donovan Ezeraku. And I think if you're in the Lions, you're pretty about Donovan Ezeraku getting taken one pick ahead of you. I think maybe you could have traded up, maybe with Houston, maybe even just jumping 2 picks to jump the Baltimore Ravens to try and go get your edge rusher if you really like Donovan Ezeraku. But the reason I don't have them doing that is because I think that they could maybe even trade back up into the second round and get a guy that they might be like a lot. There's guys down the board. Princely Uman-Mielen, guy like a lot. Nick Skirton's a good player. Landon Jackson's a good player. JTT, really good player. There are good players there. I think Jack Sawyer's just such a lion, by the way. He gets after it. He's a really good player, and I think he should be a first rounder. That's Ohio State bias for sure. But I think Jack Sawyer's such a lion. He's such a Dan Campbell guy. But here, I'm going to do something that's probably not going to happen. I'm going to take Luther Burden. I just think he's too good to be on the board still. I have him falling here to 28. And I don't really think the Lions need a receiver that bad. I mean, obviously, they really only have two guys there in Amon-Ra and J-Mo. But why not throw Luther Burden into the mix? You can kind of make these kind of picks when you're that good of a team, but they really do need help on the edge. And I just kind of didn't know what to do with the Lions here. So, I want to get Luther Burden off the board because I do think he's a good player and do think he deserves to be a first round pick, but I don't necessarily think that they'll be taking a receiver at 28. Next up, we have the Washington Commanders, And you might say Buckeye biased again, but I've been seeing a lot of reports that a lot of people don't think TreVeyon Henderson is making it out of the first round, which I definitely understand. He's blazing fast. He's such a good player, such a high IQ runner. And the only real concern and the real reason I see him falling out of the first round is because he can't stay on the field. Last year was really the only year it felt like TreVeyon stayed on the field in a long time, probably since his freshman year when he ran for over 1,000 yards. But yeah, TreVeyon, super talented player, super good, super fast. He hits his holes, he gets to the outside, and he runs past you. Really good in the passing game. He could block if you need him to. Like, just a really good running back. And I think it's a pretty good fit for Washington. I think they do a lot of fun things in that offense with a guy like TreVeyon Henderson lining up next to Jayden Daniels. All right, here at 30, almost done with the Bills here. And I think, again, like, they probably need edge here. I just don't love all of these guys going in the first round. So I'm going to go ahead and just take the best player available on the defensive side of the ball, in my opinion, right now. Like, there's a lot of good players here. Like, I think Derek Harmon is a really good player, Shavon Ravel, but my BPA right now on the defensive side of the ball is Nick Emenwari. And, you know, they're kind of just not the best at safety. Like, PFF doesn't have it listed as a need here, but like Damar Hamlin and Taylor Rapp are your safeties right now. That can be improved, in my opinion. And obviously they need corner too, but like secondary is just a need. And I like Nick Emenwari kind of, you know, filling that gap for them there at 30. All right, almost done here. And there's a couple of guys here that I just don't see not getting drafted in the first round, like Kelvin Banks, Gray Zabel, Josh Connerly. I think could definitely also be a first round pick. If not, I think he's probably going at 33 to the Browns if they don't trade up like I have them here. So there's definitely going to be guys that I just have, you know, falling out of the first round that, you know, I don't think do. Like Derek Harmon's probably a first rounder, and I haven't taken him in either mock draft as a first rounder, but he's probably going to slip in here towards the back end of the first round. But anyways, here I'm going to have Kelvin Banks. Like I said, I think it's perfect for Kansas City because they could stick him out at tackle, try it out. If it doesn't work, then fine, he's going to be a good guard in the NFL. But if it does work, then you got your left tackle of the future, and you got him at 31. Like, I think you're pretty happy about that. All right, and last up here, try to kind of go through this video a little bit quicker. Didn't want to go super in depth on everything like I did in my first video. Kind of gonna try to do the same for my next mock draft that I'm gonna do tomorrow. Makes me like cutting it down a little bit easier, and it's just a lot less to listen to. And I'm just trying not to ramble as much because I don't want these videos to be like super long. But anyways, as I ramble. But yeah, last year, I don't care. More Buckeye love. JTT. Probably not going to happen, but he is a really good player, and I think he could sneak into the end of the first round. Like, if he's the best pass rusher on the Eagles board at 32 that's left, I wouldn't be surprised at all, and I could definitely see them going JTT at 32. He definitely at least deserves a mention for the possibility of him sneaking into the first round. So I got an extra Buckeye off the board in this one today. Did some fun trades, had some guys fall, had some guys jump up a little bit higher. Let me know what you think. I had a lot of fun with this one. I like moving around, like doing some trades. Like I said, I'm gonna drop another one tomorrow. It'll be my final mock draft, and then I'm gonna do some videos throughout the draft that I'm excited to get into. So if you watch this far, I really do appreciate it. I'm having fun making these videos. You know, I just do it for fun, doing it for me. So if you made it this far, I really do appreciate it. Maybe give me a like, maybe throw a subscribe my way. I would really appreciate that. But yeah, have a good one. Thank you.